Hey guys, Samantha from Total Bill here. Made this podcast today to talk to you about how to break up with your biller. So if you're a private practitioner, private practice owner, and you're looking to start fresh, make more money and work less, you've clearly thought about it and you're ready to make the switch, you just don't know how to. I'm here to tell you today how to break up with your biller. I'm going to help you, walk you through the steps on things that you should do or don't do to make parting ways as cordial as possible, as easy as possible, and let you move on. So I often hear from people, especially when I first started out, I heard from people so much, I need to figure out how to break up with my biller. And at first I was like, gosh, what do I tell these people? They want to come work with me if they don't know how. And believe it or not, it's similar to most any other relationship. You're just two people who probably appreciate honesty and respect. And I'll tell you, working in billing for it's been a decade now, I became really good at showing other people what to do. And by that, I mean, like one of my first jobs, I had a line of people at my desk waiting to ask me questions. And oftentimes, if they made a mistake, I would just make sure to show them, because at the end of the day, most of the time, they just appreciate, instead of honest criticism, they just appreciate being shown where they can improve, but the talk needs to be short and sweet. And anything else is unnecessary. So here's 5 steps that should help walk you through writing a letter to your medical biller to say goodbye. So the biggest thing to remember overall, be short and sweet. If you're saying something that's anything else, it might not be necessary, right? And what are you going to accomplish, right? So be short and sweet. So number 1, honesty. Be honest always. Tell them you're leaving, and if you like, you can tell them why, but keep it short and never lie. Number 2, remove any emotion. It might make you feel better, but at the end of the day, your relationship with your biller is a business one. Emotion isn't necessary, and it actually takes away from your point. I mean, not to mention it steals your precious energy, but it actually takes away from your point. Number 3, this is tricky, especially for people who don't even know if they got one in the first place. I actually hear that a lot. Know your contract. So if you can, find a copy of it. If you don't remember this, most people remember this one thing, and it's, how do I get out? But if you don't, find your contract, know what it says, read it over, and figure out how much notice you're required to give, and then give it. There's nothing I hate seeing more than when someone says they want to start with our company and they want to do it tomorrow. You know, I always say, well, what does your clause say for leaving? Because I want someone to be respectful to me if they made that decision as well. And I know you're probably anxious to get out, but let's remain in integrity, be respectful, figure out how much notice you're required to give, and give it. It's really important as a small business owner to make sure you part ways cordially, right? That's the goal in any of these sorts of interactions. And you'd want the same respect in their shoes. So know your contract, know how much notice you're required to give, and give it. It's simple. Number 4, give specific dates for leaving. So be very clear down to the date your relationship's going to end and the last date of service they're going to bill on your behalf. That keeps all your reports nice and clean, especially if you pick the end of a month or the end of a year. That keeps things nice and clean. It makes it easier, too, when you have to go back and do research later to figure out who was the biller at the time that I billed that, right? And a lot of times, if you print plenty of reports, you'll never even have to go back to that biller ever again a day in your life to find something out. You'll have all the information you need right in the reports. So pick the date, make it clean, and that way you can do your research later without having putting a whole lot of thought into it. And lastly, number 5, let them know in the end of your letter, before the end of the conversation, end of the email, that you still want your end of month and end of year reports for tax purposes. So that's most important if you leave, let's say you choose to leave your medical biller in the middle of the year, especially in the beginning of the year, good Lord, but in the middle of the year, that you want your end of month report. So if they're going to work with you for another month or 2 months, whatever, whenever that cutoff is, you want your last month report, and you also want an end of year report. So however they have to do it, give you that end of year report for the last day that you work with them. Okay, so we went over it. I'll recap on it again. Be short and sweet. Number 1, honesty always. Tell them you're leaving, never lie, keep it short. Number 2, remove any emotion. Even though it makes you feel better, remember, it's a business relationship. Emotion isn't necessary. It takes away from your point. Number 3, know your contract. Know the notice you're required to give, and give it. Number 4, give specific dates for your leaving, down to the date that is the last date of service they're going to bill on your behalf. Helps your reports, helps for when you're doing research later. And number 5, let them know you want your end of month or end of year reports for tax purposes. All right, these 5 steps should help you write a clear, concise departure letter, email, whatever format, conversation, whatever format you want to have. Really, you should have it in writing, especially because it keeps things on record for the actual date that you chose to do it. But if you're listening to this and you realize you don't have the most excellent medical biller on the planet, you should probably call me so we can talk. I've got a website, www.totalbill.com. Phone number is 518-844-4990. And I've got some really great blogs if you just want to read and do some research to figure out how you can make yourself and your practice better. All right, I'll talk to you soon.